fabled heat, where magic meets desire. Subscribe to ignite the fantasy.
The hum vibrated in my bones, a low thrum that resonated from the intricate carvings etched into the floor. Alaric's chamber. It was a place I never thought I'd willingly enter, let alone linger. Now I lingered daily, sorting through scrolls, polishing his ridiculous collection of ceremonial daggers, and trying, desperately, not to dwell on the fact that he'd tried to bend my will to his. He hadn't succeeded, of course. I was too strong, too stubborn, or perhaps just too damn cynical for his particular brand of hypnotic suggestion. But he'd said so much truth, woven between the manipulative threads, that when the haze cleared, I'd found myself agreeing with him. Not just agreeing, but committed. The revolution, he'd called it, liberation from the tyrannical King Oberon, I corrected silently. Oberon was a cruel man, and Alaric, for all his flaws, possessed a charisma that made even his darkest ambitions seem just. My agreement hadn't changed his plan for me, though. He still wanted my body and my mind under his command. Now he just couldn't control me, and that made him even angrier. Seraphina, his voice was a low growl, shattering the silence as he entered. The scent of ozone and old parchment clung to him, an almost intoxicating combination. His eyes, the color of a stormy sea, were fixed on me, sharp and assessing. Are those documents ready for my review? Yes, Alaric, I replied, handing him the stack. He took them, his fingers brushing mine, sending a jolt of unwanted electricity through my veins. I've highlighted the discrepancies in the King's Tithe collection from the southern provinces. He scanned the first page, his brow furrowing. He was a striking man, Alaric, tall, powerfully built, with the sharp angles of a hawk and the intensity to match. It was easy to see why so many were drawn to his cause, easy to understand the fear he inspired in his enemies. Good work, he murmured, his gaze returning to the documents. A lie. His mind wasn't on the rebellion, it was on me. He spent most of his day trying to re-establish the mental link that failed at the first attempt. I could tell, the pressure on my mind building, then receding with a frustrated sigh from him. You shouldn't be doing this, I finally said after 3 days of his pestering. We're on the same side. I chose Asterisk to be here. He spun, fists clenched at his sides. You don't understand, he spat. I can't have someone I can't control this close to me. I raised an eyebrow. You're not afraid of me, are you? He scoffed, turning away, his shoulders slumped. Don't be ridiculous. He was lying, of course. He was Asterisk afraid that I would betray him, that I would use my knowledge of his plans against him. And perhaps a small part of him was afraid of the undeniable pull that sparked between us, a pull he clearly didn't know how to handle. That night sleep eluded me. I tossed and turned in the small chamber he'd assigned to me, the scent of his cologne lingering in the air. The revolution was at a crucial stage, plans being finalized, alliances forged, and here I was, caught in a personal battle of wills with the man who would be king. I slipped out of bed, drawn by an invisible force. The moon hung heavy in the sky, casting long shadows across the courtyard. I found Alaric in the training yard, his sword a silver blur in the moonlight. He moved with a raw power that was both terrifying and alluring. Each strike, each parry was a release of pent-up frustration. I watched him for a long moment, the silence broken only by the whisper of his blade. Finally he stopped, the sword held point down, his chest heaving. He turned to me, his face etched with exhaustion. Why are you here, Seraphina? He asked, his voice rough. I couldn't sleep, I said, stepping closer. Too many things on my mind. And I'm one of them, he stated, not a question. Yes, I admitted, you are. He lowered his sword, the metal scraping against the stone. I don't understand you, he said, his gaze searching my face. Why did you stay, after what I tried to do? Because, I said, meeting his gaze, I believe in what you're fighting for, and because I think you need someone who isn't afraid to challenge you. He scoffed, I have plenty of those. Do you? I stepped even closer, until I could feel the heat radiating from his body. Or do you just surround yourself with those who will obey? He didn't answer, his gaze locked on my lips. The air crackled with unspoken desire, a dangerous energy that pulled me closer still. I can't trust you, he whispered, his voice strained. Then don't, I challenged, but don't pretend you don't feel this. I reached out, my fingers tracing the line of his jaw. His skin was hot, slightly rough beneath my touch. He closed his eyes, a muscle ticking in his cheek. "Damn you, Seraphina," he muttered. And then he kissed me. It wasn't a gentle kiss, but one born of desperation and frustration. It was a kiss that tasted of metal and ozone, of power and vulnerability. It was a kiss that left me breathless and wanting more. We broke apart, gasping for air, our eyes locked. This can't happen," he said, his voice shaking. "Why not?" I asked, knowing the answer. "Because," he said, his gaze hardening, "I can't risk you. I can't risk letting you get close. You're a weapon, Seraphina, and I won't let you be used against me." He turned and walked away, leaving me standing alone in the moonlight, the taste of him still lingering on my lips. The next few weeks were a torment. He pushed me away at every turn, assigning me to menial tasks, avoiding my gaze. But the pull between us was undeniable, a constant hum beneath the surface of our strained interactions. The day before the planned assault on the king's fortress, Alaric summoned me to his chamber. He stood by the window, his back to me, the city lights twinkling below. "I have a task for you," he said, his voice flat. "Anything," I replied, my heart pounding. He turned, his eyes cold and distant. "I need you to infiltrate the king's inner circle. I need you to find out his weaknesses, his vulnerabilities." "And how do you propose I do that?" I asked, my voice trembling slightly. "By seducing him," he said, the words like a slap in the face. "By using your talents to gain his trust." I stared at him, disbelief warring with a burning rage. "You want me to sleep with him?" He didn't flinch. "It's necessary for the rebellion." "And what about us?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. He looked away, his jaw clenched. "There is no us, Seraphina. There never was." Tears pricked at my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. He wanted me to be a weapon. Fine, I would be. "Very well," I said, my voice cold and even. "I'll do it, but on one condition." He turned back, his brow furrowed. "What is it?" "When I'm done," I said, meeting his gaze, "I want to be the one to kill him." He stared at me for a long moment, his eyes unreadable. Then a slow smile spread across his face. "Agreed," he said, "but if you fail, Seraphina, if you betray me, I will be the one to end you." He started toward me, hunger in his eyes. It had been a game of cat and mouse for so long, and I had played my part perfectly. He reached for me, and that's when I pulled the pin from the grenade at my waist. "I already have," I whispered, and the room went white.